We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any of these items?
Question, Governor, if I might.
Sure, Councillor Volinsky has a question. Do we have the Commissioner or someone from Department of Education on? Commissioner Edelblut, are you with us this afternoon, sir?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I was just getting the mute button off.
You bet.
Thank you. Hi, Commissioner. Off-agenda item. Yesterday we had the reopening guidance issued. I know there was a START committee that met for many, many weeks, broken up into subgroups, a number of meetings. I'm just wondering, I believe I saw they produced about a 2 or 3 page list of recommendations. I'm wondering if they were provided the courtesy of seeing this guidance document for their comment and approval before it was issued. And if not, I'm wondering if you could tell us who wrote the document and who approved it related to that process.
Yes, thank you for that question. So the task of the START committee was really to pull together a broad constituency of folks. So we had over 60 members on the START task force. They themselves generated a vast amount of content through the work groups around each of the various areas of mitigation and reopening and what that might look like. We also received a tremendous amount of input through our survey process. So we had 56,000 responses to our survey, including 41,000 parents, over 11,000 teachers weighed in on that. So we had a vast amount of information through that process. The work groups and then up to the task force basically took that vast amount of information and provided for us a framework through their 10 high-level recommendations and then a series of sub-level recommendations in terms of how we might organize this vast amount of information. Based on that input from the START committee, which was their mission to be able to provide a framework to harness all of this valuable input, the Department of Education worked along with our consulting firm that we had hired, or we didn't hire, we already had them under contract through the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, but AAR, to take all that content and put it into the framework that the START committee had organized for us. And that is the result that you see here. So much of the drafting was done by the Department of Education, and then it was weighed in on, and some content was added, and a medical perspective was added by Dr. Chan, resulting in the final product that we have now produced.
Just to follow up, so if I understand correctly, this document did not go back to the task force for its comment and approval, right?
So the task force had as its initial mission, if you look in the charter for the task force from the very beginning, the charter for the task force really was to be kind of that oversight to coalesce the vast amount of information into a workable framework that would be usable for the schools so that they can then take this guidance and use it in the development of their localized implementation plans.
So there's a 40-page document. My question is pretty straightforward. Did the task force see this document before it was issued? Yes.
No, they saw the contents, and they coalesced the contents that were the basis for the production of this.
So they did not see this document and the word choice and the decisions not to recommend specific behavior or to recommend specific behavior, and did not weigh in on the final language. Am I correct?
So they weighed in on the recommendations through the various pieces of information that came to us through the survey results and the work groups.
So when this document was written, it did not go back to the task force so they could weigh in on your specific language choices. Is that not a fair statement?
The purpose of the task force, and the task force had in its initial charter when it was formed in May, is to be able to take a vast amount of information and to create a framework into which we could fit that to make that broad amount of information usable to our school leaders. So the purpose was not for the task force to write the report, but to guide the framework to make it usable for school districts. And I want to compliment the task force for the work that they did.
Thank you. And because their purpose, as you say, was not to write or approve this document, they did not write or approve this 49-page document. That's all I'm asking, Commissioner.
Yep, so the writing that they contributed was the high-level framework. We've got the 10 broad recommendations and sub-recommendations, and those are words that they specifically chose. And then the content, which came to us through the work group, which included the task force members, was then filled in.
So the high level, as you say, that was like a 2 or 3 page document, correct?
It included a framework that had 10 high-level recommendations and then a series of sub-level recommendations. And behind each one of those, there are a number of pages of documents. They used a variety of facilitation tools through these. It was basically a Padlet type of an application as we worked in a remote environment, including thousands of data inputs from the work groups.
And I could not understand when you said their name. Would you just repeat the name of the consulting firm?
AIR.
Oh, AIR. Got it. Thank you.
So AIR is basically, they're the company that has AIR is the company that has the contract. They are referred to as the Region 1 Comprehensive Center. So the U.S. Department of Education awards a contract to 5 regions across the state to a company to support SEAs as they do their work. And so when we began to approach this work, I reached out to the Comprehensive Center, which is run by AIR, and asked them if they would assist in this work. And so they became our facilitators through this process.
Great, thank you. You said also that there was a medical prospectus added. Is that somewhere specific in this report?
So I think that is, when I refer to that, I'm referring to the input and the review of this document by Dr. Chan.
So is it your position that Dr. Chan reviewed and approved the entire 49-page report, or just a portion of it, is all I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, so my understanding is that he weighed in on the report and is comfortable with its content.
The entire report?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Governor. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.